Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Arna Sahu, host of Arna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today on episode 34.
But we are our worst critics, but we are our best competition. It doesn't matter what happens out there. Impress yourself, compete with yourself. Just make sure that every single step of the road, you're better than what you were, a month ago. Continuous growth and being accountable, first of all, to yourself.
Today on episode 34, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Irina Geiman. As a part-time professor in the School of Applied Computing at Sheridan College and current director of Cloud Security Architecture at the Royal Bank of Canada, she is a seasoned cloud technology adoption leader, consultant, mentor, and instructor. With over 10 AWS certifications and 5 more other industry exams, she is someone who is excellently technical and has fantastic soft skills. An innate leader and exceptional solutions architect, she is driven by quality and impressive attention to details. In fact, her continuous passion for learning and sharing her knowledge helped her colleagues pass several AWS exams. So thank you so much, Irina, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
Arna, to be honest, after such a recap of my career and my accomplishments, there is hardly more to add, but I will try. I started my career in the previous century. It's, oh my God, quite a bit of a time ago. And back in the day, I worked with the mainframe. People hardly remember, but believe it or not, there are still systems in the bank working with the mainframe. So that's where I started more than quarter a century ago. And then gradually progressed my career from the mainframe programming to the more advanced technology. And then DevOps culture kicked off somewhat 8 years ago. Automation and cloud. So I got fascinated, switched my field, and never looked back.
That's so exciting. I'm so happy I can interview you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So my first question is, tell us a bit about your career path.
My career path, I think it was pretty straightforward for the first about 5 years. So quality assurance and then team lead. And then team lead for about 15 years. Unbelievable. So I switched domains. I learned new technologies. But I would say that it stagnated. And I would say that it's more on me than on anyone else. It was a comfortable kind of thing to do the same stuff and learn a bit more, but still be in my comfort zone. So 15 years of doing more or less the same, not moving that much, not challenging myself. And then all of a sudden, as I said, a new exciting, shiny thing, DevOps, came along, and I really want to explore it more. And I think that's where I rediscovered my passion for technology. And from this point on, there was no stopping me.
That's so exciting. I also love cloud. My dad's a cloud architect, so he always talks about AWS. So I totally get your fascination. And, I'm someone who also loves cloud and data. So that's very, very exciting.
Yep, I cannot agree more. So that's about it. When I started with the cloud, it was still relatively new. So it was more challenging, but the career progression was much easier. It took just a couple of 3 or 4 years of about 70 hours a week, and here we are.
Just a couple 70 hours a week. Yeah, and what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? Do you have any tips to succeed?
I think believe in yourself and compete, but always compete with yourself. I I hope I instilled it into my kids, my daughters. I have two. So one day I hope they will listen to this podcast. But we are our worst critics, but we are our best competition. It doesn't matter what happens out there. Impress yourself, compete with yourself. Just make sure that every single step of the road, you're better than what you were, I don't know, a month ago. Continuous growth and being accountable, first of all, to yourself. That's my way.
Yeah, because as a student myself, I know the inner critic is like horrible. I always think that, oh, I should have been doing this, or I constantly overthink. But keeping in mind that you should still believe in yourself, but also put yourself up to some standards so you have goals. That's really important in, just succeeding in professional and personal workspaces.
Yep, true. As I said, just improvement. It doesn't matter that I do not hit my most ambitious goals. I always every single weekend I create a kind of schedule for myself where every half an hour I'm supposed to know what I'm doing and kind of completing. I have to say I'm yet to complete even every single one, but I'm not focusing of what is not done. I'm focusing on how much I have achieved. Am I better than I was a couple of days ago? Yeah, thanks to the tasks I completed, I am. Cheers. Just challenge yourself, but love yourself as well.
Yeah,
Celebrate yourself.
Yeah, just loving yourself is really important. And I also do that. Time blocking is really important. It's a very important skill to use. Sometimes I slack off of it, but it's nice that you talked about it today.
So I guess that's it. Compete with yourself and one step at a time, but always moving.
Yes. Viewers, listen to that. And what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
Common myth about my profession. I admit that I was kind of on the same side of the myth supporting crowd unless I started working in security for real and getting serious. And my perception of security was that it's either boring or you are a hacker and then the life is very interesting, but maybe not in a way you want it to be interesting. So nothing to do. Working as a security professional in the cloud space, I have to say that the domain is endless. So much to do, so much to dig and to learn and to improve. And don't rely on the kind of notion that if it's a managed service, if it's a cloud provider, they took care of everything. Totally not. Cloud is a new domain. All the integrations are still happening. World is exploring multi-cloud and how to deal with it, how to create the ecosystem that will work with it reliably, how to secure this ecosystem. So I would say the common myth, I don't know, from my standpoint, is that security is for nerds and it's a boring domain. It's amazing. Even if you are on the blue team, defending, it's still amazing, fascinating, so much to discover.
Yeah, with cloud especially, even though it's kind of a new industry, but it's still really fascinating. A lot of people think that, oh, it's just for men to get into. And I think that's a huge myth that a lot of people are thinking of. But I'm really happy that you shared it today. And also, security is a really, really fascinating part of the cloud as well, and of any industry, because being secure is really important. So hackers don't get into your stuff. But yeah, I think that's a really big myth that a lot of cloud people have to face with.
Yep. Security is interesting. Security in the cloud is very different from the traditional security. You have to change the mindset. And yes, you know what? Girls in security, women in security are killing it. So come and join me.
Yes, that is very, very true. Everybody, if you're interested, be sure to check out Irina. Definitely check her out. And if you could step into my shoes or your younger self, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
What not to do? This is a very important question. We only have so many hours in the day, and to know what to do is as important. To know what not to invest into is probably as important, if not even more important, than to know what to focus on. Do not run with the crowd. Like, do not do stuff because everyone else is doing it. Guess what? If you are running with the crowd, you are competing with the crowd. Do you really want to do it? Probably not. So do something that no one else is doing. That's how I built my career. I distinctly remember when I was starting my very first cloud certification back in 2016, I think, like a long time ago. The guy who was teaching the certification, there was the platform where you were supposed to learn how to do the certification. He said, okay, so AWS at the moment has, I believe back then it's 6 certification. Now it's 12 maybe, never mind. So yeah, nowadays AWS has 6 certifications. You are currently preparing to the lowest of it. Trust me, no one has them all. That's okay not to have them all. The moment he said no one, that's it. I knew. That's what I'm going to do. That's the way. Stand out. Do your thing. Do something that no one else is doing or no one else is even considering to do. I think, yeah. Don't assume that because everyone is going this way, this is the right way. Certification, maybe today industry does not care about certifications. Maybe industry is caring about something else. Everyone is learning by the book. Yeah, learn the other way. Learn by exploring with your hands and building stuff. So yeah, this is my advice. Know what is in demand. Do your due diligence before investing your time and money, but especially your time, into something that you perceive as valuable, but the industry might not care about it.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I heard this one saying that leaders, they often do things that not everybody else is doing. That's what makes them lead and be unique. So being unique is really, really important. And the way you said it, like with your personal experience of wanting to complete all the AWS certifications, which I know you have, which is very, very impressive, you basically set yourself up to be unique and set yourself up for success. And I think that's something that a lot of people should be aware of. So thank you so much for shedding light on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. So that will definitely be a highlight of this episode. And what are the best resources / books that have helped you find your career path?
I'm not a big fan of resources and books, especially now that everything is available as online resources. There are a couple that I really consider something that helped building my career in a substantial way. One of them is actually the book that prepares you to the networking certification, but it's a very deep networking book. When I started my career in the cloud, as a woman, I was like, yeah, I'm not good in networking. I'm not doing it. Networking is for boys, for the network administrators. And then I realized it's fundamentals. If you cannot speak the lingua, if you do not understand the deep packet level communication between the devices, it doesn't matter what kind of professional cloud on-prem are you trying to be, you cannot progress. And this book taught me a lot, essentially built out all my networking knowledge, which I am continuously improving. And it provided me with the level of confidence coming to the clients and communicating with any levels of security and networking professionals that I love this book. It was written by the guys that are presenting on the reInvent. I literally kind of follow up every single video they publish. So I highly recommend maybe this networking certification book published by AWS, any other good networking book out there, but definitely this is something that we have to have under our belt. Another one is, well, my domain is Kubernetes at the moment. I really love a couple of books, Hacking Kubernetes and Hacking Docker, because I need to know who are the offenders so I can defend better. I guess that's it. These are my favorites.
Yeah, so is the first book, what was the first book's name again?
I don't remember the name, but it's a AWS published book that prepares you for the networking certification. Up until today, networking certification is considered to be the hardest one. So there is a book. It's not really certification preparation. It explains networking, but really in details and fairly in depth. This is the book that I like.
Is it the white paper?
Nope, it's not a white paper. It's a whole book. I don't know,
Oh, I
300
see.
pages.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Have you ever been to AWS reInvent?
No, I haven't. I dislike crowds, so no.
I see. I really want to go to one, but I don't know, but it's like really far away. It's in like Las Vegas. So that's okay. And what do you think is the vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it, and what was your life after learning it?
I decided, right. I really want, with this one, I want to go way back. And interestingly enough, I believe that deciding factor that shaped my career, my progression, and my passion for technology and kind of ability to achieve things is my realization that asking questions is much more important than having answers. When I found out that a good question is worth 100 answers, that's it. I challenged everyone around me with the questions. I constantly challenge myself. So whatever is written or whatever I do or whatever is implemented, I will never take it for granted. I will challenge the solution, the implementation, the design, every step of the way. And this ability of asking in-depth questions that simultaneously challenge my colleagues, my friends, my vendors. So this ability to ask in-depth questions, I think this is what shaped my career. The realization pretty long time ago, the realization that asking questions is not actually making you vulnerable. It's not demonstrating your inability. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for you. You learn new things. It's a good thing for someone who is presenting because it gives them a chance to showcase their mastery. So questions, good questions, is an amazing tool, and people so underuse and underestimated.
Yeah, a lot of people say that saying questions and being confident enough to voice them is a superhero power. And I think that's pretty true because I was someone who was really introverted. I still am kind of introverted, but before I wouldn't really ask any questions to my teachers and I would just shy away. But now that I'm kind of older, I've known that I shouldn't shy away because questions are actually really helpful because there might be so many other people in the room that are confused on the same topic as me. So not only are you helping yourself, but you might be helping like the other confused peers in your classroom. So that's really important as well.
Arna, I would kind of circle back to the point that I mentioned. Asking teachers, absolutely. Asking people around you, absolutely. Ask yourself. Ask yourself, look at something that is written and challenge yourself. Do I understand why it's this? The book says that, I don't know, container runs with root level permissions. Why? Why? And you would be surprised to see how many professionals in the IT nowadays do not know the answer because they have never asked themselves these questions. So challenge yourself with the questions. Nothing is taken for granted unless you really convinced yourself you understand.
Yeah. And questions can also help you further understand the material. You find loopholes in your brain and then you figure them out, and boom, you get the answer and the concept right. So I think that's really important to ask questions. And what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
Um, I wish that I knew that I can do more. I can do more. I can progress more. Because after sitting in the same role for 15 years, I kind of was complacent and decided to myself, okay, so probably this is the way my career is going to end. There is no progression in any way. No, don't compromise. If I would have the power to get back to in time and tell myself that you need to know that you can, this is something that I would have done.
Yeah, I think the self-confidence is really important because even in your younger stages of your career, or even in the later stages, um, as I said before, your inner critic is one of the biggest problems that you might have to face in your life. And just knowing that you can do it and believing in yourself and finding that self-confidence within yourself is really important to face obstacles. Like in your case, it was maybe trying to find another domain in your job, but in so many other aspects of life, just having that self-confidence and that willpower to do it is really important too.
Self-confidence, willpower, and kind of kicking yourself out of the comfort zone. Yeah, it's fine. The job is fine. You know, ins and outs, and everyone knows you, and you know everyone, and the paycheck is good. But you are too comfortable, so move on.
Yeah. There, there's like this really one saying that the second you get comfortable in one place, you have to move and find another place where you're not comfortable. So you keep on learning and keeping your brain active. And that's a really cool phrase.
Yeah, my friend told me a couple of days ago, I really like this comparison, that the eagle who sits in the nest for too long a time becomes a turkey. So yeah, no turkeys, not anymore.
Yeah, we're going to stay eagles.
Yeah.
And how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role?
We say that if you are kind of, if you, it's a very funny saying, but if you cannot work, you become a manager. If you cannot manage, you become a teacher. But joke aside, I do believe that the best way to learn is to teach, because your students will challenge you constantly. You need to be able to address all their questions and to be not just on top of your game, a couple of miles ahead of your game. So I started teaching to challenge myself not to be complacent ever again, to constantly learn and bring the knowledge to the students. That's my recipe.
Yeah, and I think that teaching, there's actually this one studying method. I don't know what it's called. It's either the Feitner system or the Leitner system, but basically you teach others the same concept you know, and that's supposed to help your brain understand the concept. So not only are you helping yourself, but you're helping the students you're teaching. So it's really,
Yep.
really cool.
Best way to learn is to teach. And I really, after teaching for a couple of years, I fully support this idea. I hope my students are gaining from my experience. I am definitely gaining from being challenged by them.
That's really exciting. And last but not least, do you have any quotes or mottos that you love to follow?
Yes, I do. When I was a young aspiring engineer, I had a role model in front of me, and one time I decided to interview her. So I approached and asked, "What makes you so different? What makes you so different?" And back in the day, nowadays we do not have too many women in tech. Back in the day, she was a total unicorn. She was a woman. She was in a very prominent position in fully male-dominated world, and she was amazing. Like when she was talking, everyone was sitting and listening. I don't know, she was leading, not managing. So I asked, what's the secret? What do you do that makes you so different? And she told me something that is kind of leading me throughout my career. She said, I make products that work. I think it's so powerful. It's you make things work, and that's it. No matter what it is, whether it's teaching your students, you do the best. Whether it's protecting the environment, you do the best. You do things that work. Hopefully nowadays I make products, students, whatever. I make things that work and people.
Yeah, it's simple but potent. That's a really good saying. Thank you so much for sharing. And before we end off, would you like to say any last words to the audience?
Don't be afraid to dare, and don't be afraid to try, fail, challenge status quo. Don't stop yourself. So you will try, and maybe you'll fail, but you will learn so much of it. Embrace the change. It will be painful. It will be tearing you down, but do it anyway and grow. And hope to see you in the technical field.
Thank you so much, Irina. I had a blast interviewing you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Nice meeting you, Arna. Thanks.
Nice meeting you too. Thank you for tuning in to Arna's News, where we aim to inspire and empower women in STEM by featuring the stories of successful female professionals in the industry. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Irina Geiman, part-time professor in the School of Applied Computing at Sheridan College and current director of Cloud Security Architecture at the Royal Bank of Canada, who shared her invaluable advice on challenging oneself and continuously improving. Thus, that concludes episode 34. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review, and follow on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Also, check out our YouTube channel. That is www.youtube.com/@arnasnews, no spaces attached. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Tito, you're listening to Arna Sahu, the host of Arna's News. Toodles!